Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the vlog. Today I want to talk about two different topics that are actually very related in my learning experience. One is being a personal trainer and how to tell when people are actually working either too little or too hard. And the other is men and women and how we differ in how we fight. Now, on the personal trainer side, when I was a very fledgling trainer, first learning the ropes on everything, I just thought, hey, when people are sweating, they're working. And a lot of times that's the case, big majority of the time that's the case. But then I met some people that, they could sweat like crazy at like 95 beats a minute. To give you an idea, that's barely getting up out of bed in the morning for a lot of people, just walking down the stairs. So you get to about 80, 85, and that's about it. It takes a lot to get those types of people into a high heart rate, and they could be pouring some freaking sweat. Then there's some people that no matter how hard you push them, they just won't sweat. They just don't have the glands on their skin. And I've, especially early in my career, pushed those people way too hard. I'm like, sweat, 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 and they're just dying on the inside, and they shut down. Now, to relate this to men and women, this is a lot of research and a lot of science-backed stuff. If you guys want, I can link the scientific studies to back my stuff up, because I've done the research. But the idea is when men and women get into a fight, we have very different physiological reactions. And I want to be clear on this. This is not male and female. This is men and women, right? One is an energy, and every person will have some male and female energy in them. But this is physiological. Men fight different than women fight. When a woman starts to fight, there's all of the outward signs. There's all of the sweat. And it's very easily visualized. We can see a lot of the physicalities and the screaming and the insert blank here. That's very visual. Doesn't necessarily mean they throw things. Some do, but it's very obvious. There's a lot of change in the voice tones. There's a lot of change in the movements. There's a lot of change in crying and whatnot. But it's interesting because what the research shows is when you put a heart rate monitor on that woman, beep beep, beep beep, beep beep, they're calm under the surface. It's a little strange. It's just like that client that you can see all the sweat and you think they're working hard and there's something crazy awesome happening, but there's really nothing actually physiologically different inside of themselves. Likewise, with the person that doesn't sweat at all, right? That's the men. That's me. I know this for a fact because I always seem like I'm not paying attention in a fight. I'm just listening. But what happens is the research shows that men are actually more emotional than women when it comes to these types of fights. We are so self-critical and self-loathing inside of ourselves, always trying to figure out what we're going to say next, how the other person's going to feel about that thing, what we can do to fix the situation and get the heck out of it. And what happens is just like that person that's going crazy with their heart rate, not sweating, not showing it, not showing, we shut down. I mentioned this in another video. I actually took that video down because I got in trouble with it, but I want to repeat this, that men shut down when we fight, especially when we see visually the sweating from the other person. When there's all this physicality, it means that the situation's getting out of our control range and we shut down. How do we fix this? Now, one, rewatch this video and you'll know how to fix it, right? Knowing that there's a difference between men and women is not saying that we are unequal. It means that we are wise. We know that this is a physiological, a biological, a biomechanical response, and it's okay for that to be there. When my girlfriend and I get into a little tiff or argument or whatever we want to call it, right? We're a normal couple. We get into them every now and then. We tend to take some time and really try and listen to what the other person's actually saying. I have to, as a man, realize that all of the physicality that's happening is not what's happening underneath the surface. That's not the emotion that's going on. I've got to listen in between the lines and all of the visuals that distract me and say, what is actually the issue here? And likewise, for the women out there, and I've heard this from a lot of female scientists out there, this is me being a parent, repeating this back to you guys, just to make sure I'm not called sexist. It's important to realize that even though the guy may not be as outwardly sweating as you want him to be, underneath he is hurting, and he is begging to just be given a little bit of time to process what's happening. and realize that he is listening intently. But the more you push him and the higher that heart rate gets, the more likely he is going to shut down and not listen to you. And what happens for some people, especially for some men, is they shut down for a few days. Their circuits are just overloaded. And they've been overstimulated and now they're fried. And they're not going to be responsive for a few days. They'll get into this kind of mode of depression. They'll start second-guessing the relationship. And all they needed was just some time. Okay? So I hope this information is very helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, drop them in a comment below. I do want to mention that this actually was a question that was posited to me in a direct message. But if you guys have any questions on this stuff or any other topics you'd like me to cover with some of my crazy wisdom that I've picked up over the last 10, 15 years of reading a ton of books and videos and just in general being a super curious guy, drop those in a comment below as well. Otherwise, be nice to your opposite sex, and I will talk to you later.